Today on the podcast, we're talking retailing with the amazing Mel Robbins from The Lot Co. We're going to talk about retailing now for 2020 and beyond. So it's a fabulous episode. Can't wait for you to hear it. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 77 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do sincerely appreciate you making me one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then hey, super welcome to you. I'm really happy to have you here. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and really everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler, because I know that business can be lonely, it can be hard, complicated, it's rarely easy, but it definitely should be simple, or at least simpler. So that is my commitment to you on the so-named Small Business Made Simple podcast. One way that I can make your life a little bit simpler is by having you come and join my like-minded business owners group on Facebook, a place for like-minded business owners to hang out, get answers, network, and really just enjoy the journey of business together. If you haven't joined, then just go to Facebook and search like-minded business owners and join the group. Otherwise, you can head to the show notes and the link is in there. Of course, the show notes are at allthewsocialmediaandmarketing.com.au/77. As you may or may not know, my journey to here as a marketing coach and mentor has seen me go from law to retail to here. Quite the curvy path to get where I am. I have a massive passion for retail and retailers. Some of my best friends are still in retail, and it's a tough gig. You know, business is a tough gig, but retail is a tough gig as well. I'm not quite sure whether I'm game enough to say it's tougher, but it's definitely a tough gig. It was when I actually owned a retail store with my bestie Jo, who never listens to my podcast because now she's in aged care and really doesn't need any marketing advice, that I actually fell in love with marketing and social media and discovered its power to grow a business and expand a business. So I was super excited when Mel Robbins agreed to come on my podcast and talk retail. Yay! Now, I've never met Mel face to face, but I've heard her speak and I've heard her on other podcasts, and I've been following along on her socials for a while. Which, of course, there's a message in that for all of us, that connections, strong connections, can still happen online, even if you don't know someone personally and have never met face to face. If you're out there putting your best content that shows you're an expert in your industry, then when people want an expert, then you will, of course, be top of mind. Marketing, who knew? Social media and marketing isn't just for selling, it is for building connections as well. Now, if you're not in retail, then I would still encourage you to have a listen to this episode. There's so many business lessons that we talk about, and perhaps hearing something from a different person a different way just might be what you need to know and hear inside your business today. I know this is something I often experience, that light bulb moment or that forehead slapping moment when you hear something a different way, like you've heard it for the first time. So my guest Mel, her business is called The Lot Co. You'll find her on all the socials, and of course I will leave the links to all her socials in the show notes. Mel's customer base includes both retailers and wholesalers, and she's actually had a retail shop all of her own in the past. So she's walked the walk and talked the talk. My kind of person. Mel is passionate about retail, fashion and design, whether it's interior design, fashion design, product design, or anything else. She loves to help and mentor and coach and inspire those on a journey to create a brand or a retail space and income, all from their passion. Mel loves working with those in business, whether it be small homemade items or a fashion brand that has been running for 15 years. There is so much gold in this podcast. I can't wait for you to hear two retailers or ex-retailers and now retail marketing people chatting all about retail. It really is a great episode and Mel is just fabulous. So listen in. Can't wait to hear what on the podcast. I have Mel Robbins from The Lot Co, and I'm really excited because I get to talk to her about retail because Mel is a bit of an expert when it comes to retail, but I'll let her tell you all about that. So welcome, Mel, to the podcast, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jen. I'm excited to be here. So I just tell you a little bit about myself. So I have had lots of experience in retail, lots of experience working with brands, lots of experience on the all different sides and aspects of it as well. So I have worked a lot as a wholesale sales manager. I've built up my own retail stores. I've had a few different types of retail stores within that as well, in terms of I had a children's wear store, but then also changed that into a lifestyle store. And was lucky enough to sell the retail store about, actually, I think it's about five and a half years ago now. So since then, I've been working with retailers, with brands, just on their overall business strategy, of their overall marketing plans, a bit of a mixture with every different person I work with, just working on different things. So it's really exciting, and I love working with everyone on all sides of things as well.
Yeah, good. I think I was just, when you were talking about that, I was trying to think, I think it's been about 5 years, maybe it's only been 4 since I sold mine. So, we might have been out of the game for about the same length of time.
Yeah. And how things change all the time as well. So that's another thing. Like it's always changing and always evolving, and you have to as well as a retailer and as a business owner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably a really good segue into my first question. Like when I had my retail store, it was a kitchenware store. We were online, and that was not really unusual, but probably a little bit unusual for a small business to be online, and especially a small business in a regional area. But now the landscape has definitely changed a lot, and I know you talk a lot about being online, and that stores should be online. Have you seen a real surge with COVID-19, or just in the last couple of years with people getting online?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people have always thought, oh, I should do this. I should be online, or, I should have that presence, but I can't dedicate the time to it, or it's not enough of a need to do that. And I think the situations like what have just happened has really sort of highlighted the fact that you should be online as another revenue stream. So you can't just rely on those foot traffic and people coming into your store. And it's another way for people to not just buy from you, but also see what you have available and make those decisions about whether they do come and make the effort to come to your store or not. And I think a lot of people get caught up in the fact that, they may have thousands and thousands of products, and it's too hard to put everything online. And I get that, because, I had that in my retail store as well. But you can limit what you put online, in terms of it can be your top best-selling products, or a really good reflection of your whole range. And you might not have, you might get something you only have 3 of that come into store. Well, maybe you don't put that online, but you don't have to have everything online. But it should give people an indication of what you have in your store, and it should connect in terms of, I've worked with a few retail stores who have their online presence looks completely different to what the experience is when people are in store. So making sure that connects to each other as well, and they reflect each other, so that the feeling you get when you go into a store should come across online as well, in terms of your brand colors, or the way your language you use and the way you talk. So I feel that it's a good way to have another revenue stream. it does take investment, it does take time, and it does take marketing, but I think that it definitely can pay off if you go about it the right way.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. Like, I'm sure my listeners have heard me talk about my retail days, and we actually had a kitchenware shop, but lots of our things were breakable, so we didn't put them online.
Yeah.
So we actually had a whole section that was our cake decorating section. So that was what we concentrated online. They were, easy to post, not
Yes.
breakable. We just found that, trying to post a dinner set or cups or,
Mm. When
things
you're not
like
set
that.
up to package it the way that it needs to be
Yeah.
done.
And, I often, no offense if you ever ordered from us and you're listening to this podcast, but I often found it very unusual that the second one never broke. The first one always broke, but the second one never broke. So I don't know what's in that. But yes, the second time we sent parcels out, they never seemed to come back broken the second time. But the struggle is real, though. Like, I know with our online store, and I'm sure that, procedures and things are a little bit easier now than what we were trying to do, but it is almost someone else's job. It is almost, you need a dedicated person in your team that is going to handle that online store, because you're either in it or you're not in it, type of thing.
I totally agree. I think it does take someone who is committed to uploading the product, putting the right descriptions on, making sure that your keywords are there and people can find you, that making sure your images are all the right size or you've got the right images and so on. Like, it does take commitment, and that's where you want it to eventually bring you, a percentage of your income. So you want it to be bringing you, ideally, 50% of your income. So if you can build it to that, then it does require, staff member. And the same as if you're in, you've got a staff member in store, it's just taking a staff member to do that.
Yeah, so it's almost a bit of a mindset change in some ways. And, one of the little questions I did have for you is, what's your biggest tip for online? But I think for me, you've already given it, in that online and offline need to look the same. I find that massive for me as a consumer, when there is a huge disconnect when I walk in your shop as opposed to head to your website.
Yeah. And I think the people who are selling, the store owners aren't buying things on their own online store. So sometimes they just don't see it in the same way that another consumer does. So they've really got to take time to think, how do I want someone to feel when they turn up? Can they see straight away what I have to offer? So a lot of people don't even put specific things of what they sell on their front of their homepage, or when you first land on their website, because they know what they sell, so they don't tell anyone else what they sell. But sometimes it takes that just information. It might be, for yours, for example, might have been kitchenware or baking or something specific when you first land at your store, that even something as simple as that, some people don't do. So.
Yeah. And I guess, if you're listening to this and you're not a retailer, that's still a big lesson for all of us. Like, take this podcast, for instance. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're hearing me talk about this podcast, but imagine if you met me in real life and I wasn't that person that you'd heard in your ears all those episodes. It's still, we might be talking online shopping here, but it's still the same idea that, if the person that's doing this podcast isn't the person who you'd meet, perhaps not in the pub, but perhaps at a networking event, and they're the same person, then there's a huge disconnect in my branding. So, even if you're not in retail, there's still a really big lesson in that for you.
Absolutely. Yes.
One of the things that really caught my eye on the website, The Lot Co., which is your website, is talking about Pinterest. Now, I am quite new to Pinterest. I have someone who does my Pinterest for me. It's something that I've started investing in 2020. But it's something that you talk about both for your wholesale clients, or your brand clients, but also for retailers. Can you tell us a little bit about what the strategy would look like for perhaps both those people, both those avatars?
Yeah, I think what you've got to first of all look at is who your customer is and where their attention is, and if they are on Pinterest, which, if there's a lot of people who are on Pinterest, so really looking at your analytics or understanding who your customer is important here as well. But as you mentioned previously when we just had a chat, that you love Pinterest as a consumer yourself, you spend time on there. And a lot of people do, whether it's just, it's a pleasure thing. It's not necessarily a social thing. It's more of a search engine or a inspiration. So you're spending time on Pinterest. So therefore, it can really work for a brand or a retail store to have a presence there, and really trying to get traffic through to your website. Essentially, I've been on it from the very beginning, so I'm a bit of an early adopter in those sort of things. In terms of, I remember when you first had to get invited to be on Pinterest, so that's
Ah.
going way back when I first got on. But I'm not prolific on it, but I definitely use it a lot. And what I've just seen is that I, pinned a particular client's image, and her Pinterest just went up. Like her Pinterest traffic just shot up on her website from this one thing that I just pinned. And this is going back 6 months, a year ago now. And it sort of just triggered this whole thing that started investigating it more, started to look at it more. And then other clients I've worked with as well, they've done a bit of advertising on there, and it's still quite, the price is quite cheap still for what traffic you're going to get from it. And so it just started to get more and more views, more and more people, link clicks, more and more people saving it to their boards. And so what it does is it's a search engine for people, and it just sends traffic to your website. And whether they all convert to sales or not is something that, I can't say for everyone. But what it does is it brings also people that you can then retarget, because they've been on your website before, they've clicked through. It sort of works in tangent with other advertising like Facebook ads and stuff, because you're warming up your audience by them finding out about you, or have seen you, or have spotted something of your image. And again, this is also where the importance of imagery comes in, that if you invest well in your imagery at the start of your campaign, or if you do a photo shoot for your retail store, then that can come back in spades, because you've got unique imagery, and that can pay off over time as well. So it's not just a photo that you're doing for Instagram once, but it can then pay off because people love those images that you create.
Yeah, and my Pinterest strategy looks like that. Like I said, I don't do it. I have someone do it for me,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the strategy I see. But I did see when I was looking on your website that was a strategy that you had, in that I think I was reading a blog article, but you had 4 or 5 different covers to that same blog article, 4 or 5 different, what am I trying to say, images that you could pin. So it's the same content, but there's all sorts of different ways of pointing to that one piece of traffic. That one URL has different images attached to it. So I think
100%, yes.
Yeah, so
that's a new direction for Pinterest too, in terms of they want fresh pins.
Yeah.
What that means is they don't want you just to repin things from everywhere else in terms of from Pinterest. They want fresh content coming onto their site, so that there's new things for people. And so, yes, having more than one image, say for a blog post, then you can pin that, and that may be 4 different pins for that one piece of content. And I guess that lends itself too, in terms of to retail stores, if they need to be creating content for blog posts and inform their customers and helping their customers. So all these things, coming back to getting people to their website essentially.
Yeah, and I guess where I was sort of leading to that was like when you were talking about photography and having your own set of images. It's all like, it's wonderful that wholesalers and brands have their own images, but investing in some of your own that are unique to you, not only for Pinterest, but for any of your social media, is really good. It's a really great way of standing out from the crowd, having these unique images.
That's right. If you've got brands that lots of other people have got in store, if you're a stockist of some of the others, then having your own imagery really means when people land on your website, they're not seeing that same image that 10 other stores have got on their website. So, having a place in store where you can take photos. Or one of my clients is an online store, but she has a bedroom set up at home and she sells bed linen and homewares. So she has someone, has that set up at home where she creates new imagery all the time for that. So it definitely yeah, having fresh and new content, new images is good for, as you say, not just Pinterest, but for your own website, for, you know, blog posts, for Instagram, everything.
Yeah, one of the things that I found just recently is love Canva, for
Mm.
doing images and that sort of thing. But I've found the background removal tool. So I've
Oh,
managed to
yes.
take a photo of myself, and I keep changing the background, to sort of make it look like it
Yes.
could be a new photo.
Absolutely. I when I saw that, I think actually saw that on TikTok, which is another completely different thing anyway.
Oh my
But
goodness!
let's not
Yeah,
even go there right now. Yeah, I saw someone show me how to do that on TikTok. Remove the background. And I'm like, what? I didn't know you
yes.
could do that. So
Yeah, I know. So, like, I know that I'm a human, but for helping you with your images that you've got in store as well, like there's some really great tools out there that can help you
yes,
repurpose these images to make them look different, or to, make them unique to you, I guess was my point there. In fact, I put myself in a Tiffany cafe. I don't even know whether the Tiffany cafes are furphy or actually exists in New York, but I put myself in there on my laptops, doing some work. So,
I love it. I have to check that image out. I haven't seen that one yet.
oh dear.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about Pinterest and a little bit of, online and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I know both you and I are quite passionate about is email marketing when it comes to
Mm,
retailers. So
yes.
can you just maybe, tell my audience, perhaps in your words, why email marketing is so important to have inside your marketing strategies?
Yeah, I think well, I think first of all, one of the things that you would know and you hear is that you own your email database. So that's really important to make sure you build that database up because you own that. That's your information and your property. And that yes, then you need, but it's not enough just to have the emails. What you do need to do is service them. So, and I think I heard someone the other day talk about that. Um, they got emails in this whole COVID situation talking about what was going on in the business, and they only heard from these people. They hadn't heard from these people in 6 months. But then they got this one email from them, and that's not enough to be a part of something or to be informed or be part of a community or repurchase from these stores. So you can't just get someone to email and then email them 3 times a year because you've got a sale on. So you really need to stay connected to your customers, offer them something special for being on your email database as well, in terms of let them know first when you've got new deliveries, or let them know what's happening when you're reopening, or what's happening with your opening hours and things. And what you should be doing is really getting to know who your target market is and trying to service them in a way that's not just selling, but connecting with them in the things that they love and are passionate about that also somehow relate to your store. So one of the things that I talk about with people is connecting with what's happening in your community. So what events are going on in your community? How can you let them know what's going on in your region or town? How can you, which is not always relevant because they might be further away if they're an online customer as well, but still it's connecting the place to the location, the store to the location where you are. And then educating them on either the brands that you sell, doing profiles on different people, telling them about ways that you've managed to work from home. What things can you do to help people and service your target market that's not just about the new delivery you've had come in? So it shouldn't just be about or the discount that you've got because you've got a 30% off sale coming up right now. So really, and this comes down to, maybe you look at other brands, or maybe you look at other stores and see what they're doing and take things that you like or don't like about other people's emails and evolve it for you. I talk about, one of the ones I've talked about a few times is bed threads. They just have a really good way of connecting to their customer that's not just about their bed linen, which I really love. So that's an example of one that I like, that I follow. that
Well, you
I
just took the words right
subscribe
out
to.
of my mouth. I was just
Ah,
about to ask you for an example of someone you did, because I know that, I have a mixture of retail and service-based clients, but, we talk about that give, 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 ask,
mm,
always be educating and entertaining or engaging with some value and not always selling. But I find that a lot of the retail emails I get are, this is new, this is for sale, we're on
yes,
sale, and they don't have that element of that give,
yeah,
give, give in it. So I really love those little examples that you just gave, of ways that they could. And I think one of the objections that I often find that people say, like I might say, tell them, 10 ways to tie a scarf or
yeah,
something like that. It's
yes.
like, yeah, but you can get that on YouTube. And it's like, but they don't want it from YouTube. They want it from you because they love you. They signed up for
Yes,
your list. So it's
that's
thinking
100%
about it
right.
that
Yes.
way as
Yeah.
well. Like, um, yeah, yeah,
It's filtering the information for people too, because there is thousands of YouTube videos or tutorials or whatever, but it's like they don't want to subscribe to thousands of things. They just want to connect with a certain number, or they love you, as you say, or the way you go about your buying and your brand, and they connect with you because you're local. What else can you do for them and filter the information, as you say? Like if you're a fashion store, I mean, there's so many things you could do in terms of styling tips, and that sort of stuff that really, yes, service the customer, not just sell to them. So I think, as you say, that's a good way to go about it. And
yeah,
even the better ones, one of the ones I had was at the time, top 5 Christmas movies to watch with your family. Like it's completely unrelated to them, but
yeah.
they know that their customer is doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the, I guess, being a regional person myself, I love the idea of, people sharing the love about their town and things like
Mm,
that. Like I know I live in a very tourist orientated town.
yes.
So, letting more people know what's going on in my town will bring
Yeah.
more money into the town, even if they don't come and spend specifically at your shop, or, or go online.
Yes.
It's
Yeah. Like, what's your
developing.
favorite restaurant to go to there? Or
Yes.
when it's open again. But or what are the places? Yeah, the latest place that's opened in your town and stuff like that. Like really sharing that love of the community as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. How often do you think, as a retailer, because I do think it's a little bit different for retail versus service, that people should be sending out an email? What's your optimum?
I think optimum is weekly,
Yep.
but I think as retailers, I know that there's a lot of other stuff going on, and they don't always have everything, something to send out to people. So I think at the bare minimum, fortnight.
Yep.
If they should be sending something out every fortnight at the bare minimum. That's it.
Yep.
And
Okay.
don't try. I've had a few clients too, like put a whole lot of information into that one email because they're sending it out once a month, and it's like overwhelm for customers too because there's 20 bits of information in there. So don't just save it all up and do it once. Spread that out if you've got things to tell people or share.
Yeah, 100% Gary, agree. I know when I first started in my retail shop and I thought, oh, I'll do a newsletter. Like I was doing this 6-page newsletter and it got to be so arduous. And then I thought, oh, maybe I'll just do email marketing and, send it out once a week instead.
Yes,
Short, sharp. I think we only had 3 elements, so it was the same,
perfect.
just 3 things every time. Yeah, and I think the elements were something like a product, because we're a kitchenware shop. We had a recipe and a cooking tip, and the recipe and the cooking tip I stole straight off Google and just credited whoever I stole it off. I
Yes.
didn't reinvent the wheel.
No,
um
totally. You don't have to get a yeah, you don't have to do that. It definitely is repurposing and yeah, as you say, crediting the source and stuff, and sharing what things you love or have inspired you from someone else as well.
yeah, exactly. So we both totally agree that email marketing is certainly a great um strategy to
Mm,
have inside your business, but list building is something that probably a lot of retailers aren't quite sure on how to go about it. And I must admit,
mm.
I find it a lot easier being a service-based business to
It
build my
is.
list than what I do as a retailer. So
Mm.
a lot of retailers, even the big people, it's kind of like sign up to get $20 off your first order or get 20% off your next order. What else is there? What else have you seen that can be that top of funnel, join my list and get this little carrot?
Okay, so in terms of a things to build your list, I think there are a few. things you can do. And I think something you mentioned previously when we had a chat was some guides that you can do. So if you're a fashion store, is there something you can set, share, like tips for winter dressing, or a download that people can get as well? Or if you can create your own wrapping paper, is there something that you could do, like a free download for people, so sign up and get this? Or if you're an art, you might have something that they can download that is unique to you, and so that they can use that as a what's it called, a printout or something like that as well. So I think if you can do a guide, a printout, that's something that's not just discount, or it's not just a dollar value off the first order, but also the way that you talk about it in terms of encouraging people to join because of what you're going to offer. So making sure that you're clear that it's not just a newsletter, once a week or fortnight, but they're going to get special offers, or they're going to be a part of something before everyone else. So giving them enticing information that the reason that they're on there, you're not just going to post the same thing to Instagram as what you're going to give to your email list. So letting them know that they actually do get something that's special or VIP or access to things before other people, because that can really incentivize it as well, that people want to join up. With retail too, if they're actually a bricks and mortar retail, having it on your counter, making sure you actually have a physical sign up. So many people don't do that, and just, then people have got that option. If they're standing in front of you, they can join up if they want to. Yes. So having that physical element in store as well is important, not just digital.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember going into a retail store not so long ago when I was doing a tour. Well, it was a little bit of time ago because I was doing a tour, and now I'm not allowed to do tours. But I was doing a tour, and one of the things I offered was, a 1-to-1 the next morning. And I went into this lady's retail shop, and she had the most beautiful shop. But her question was, how do I get people to shop more online? She'd set up this website, and of course, walked into a shop, had a look. She had some beautiful products and that sort of thing. But my question to her was, how do I know you've got an online shop? And she just kind of looked at me and started to laugh, and she said, oh my God, yes, I've got it here on a business card, but that's about it. Like,
yes. Yeah. And that's it. Advertising it on windows, or on your email signatures, or on your receipts, or all sorts of ways that, you can let people know that once they've been in store, then you can also do this once they leave town as well. Especially if you're in a tourist destination, how can you get those people to buy from you afterwards?
I think on the counter and email signatures are two of the biggest places people miss, as far as being, whether you're online or offline, miss with list building. It's but sometimes you just need fresh eyes. I'm not clever knowing totally. That it was just a set of fresh eyes coming into her shop, and telling her something that she had just completely overlooked, I guess, the simple and the obvious.
Well, that's something that I do work with a lot on businesses, offering that fresh eyes and having a fresh look at your whole business, because you do get blinkers on and you don't see the same things that other people see when they walk in, or notice about your overall business planning or strategy. Like, it is definitely something that, it can be really beneficial for a business to have that fresh perspective.
Is merchandising part of your repertoire that you do?
It is something that I do, because I often do retail visits, and it's just something that needs addressing. So it's definitely not my first point of call or first service that I offer. But when I have gone into a few stores, the first thing that I've noticed is the merchandising that needs changing or evolving. So then that's something that we discuss. It's certainly not something that I would want to spend the whole day doing, because there's lots of other aspects that I'll help them with. But it definitely is something that I have addressed in a few stores, because it is the instant thing that I've noticed when I've walked in, and that they haven't changed, or that they could increase sales immediately if they did a few different things. Yes.
Yeah. When you first walk in, and the upsells on the counter, there's a reason why. I think Woolworths had this phenomenal, or Woolworths Petrol had this phenomenal amount that they earned from that chocolate bar that chocolate bar that just sits at the front. I think it was like $10 million worth of
Wow.
sales or something over 12 months just from those, oh, I need that. And so it's having that on your counter as well, that irresistible,
Absolutely.
chocolate bar that obviously isn't a chocolate bar, but, what's your chocolate bar in your business that people are like, oh, I need one of those. Oh, I need one of those. Just that $2-3 thing or something like that people can't
100%.
resist.
Yeah, and it's planning that too. Like I hear from a few people say, "Oh, at my counter, I don't have enough space, and I don't have enough, space to wrap and stuff like that as well." But it is planning that out so that you can add elements like the upsells on the counter. I had the children's wear store and children's lifestyle store, and the amount of upsells from little kids picking up things and going, can I have this? And there's lots of things that you could have on the counter, and for other lifestyle stores, there's like earrings. Like, it doesn't have to be big, as you say. It can be a small, doesn't have to be a low price point, or it doesn't have to be a big item. Like, it can be a mixture of all different things on the counter.
Yeah, I think our biggest selling product, it's quite sadly, and was like a $3.99 product that sat on our counter, and it was toast tongs, bamboo toast tongs to get your toast out of the toaster because it's too hot for your fingers. Like, I literally could not keep up with those. And it was just like, man, imagine if they were $19.99.
You saved a lot of electrocutions from people sticking knives in toasters.
Hey, look, saving the world one toast tong at a time. Oh dear. So Mel, this has been a really great chat. I've really loved this chat, but we are coming out of quite a I don't know, a mountainous time. I'm not quite sure what the word is, with retail at the moment. Like, we're coming hopefully out of COVID-19, touch wood, that we don't, now we're allowed out, that we don't have a second lockdown.
Yes.
But you will have seen the ups and downs of the past 3 months. So do you have any advice for retailers that perhaps have had to pivot or struggle, or even the ones that have done really well during this time?
Yeah, I think it's been very tough, and it's been harder for some than others, and some have been able to pivot or make some changes and evolve their business. So I think what it has given the opportunity, though, is a bit of chance to take stock and figure out what you love about your business. What are the things that you want to spend more time on? What are the things you'd rather not spend time on? And really review where your business is, what is bringing in the best income for you, or the most joy for you in terms of the role that you play in your business. And so I had a few businesses who do a number of different things within their business, and I had a chat to her the last week, and she said, I don't want to do this aspect anymore. I don't want to do this side of it, because it's just, I've had a chance to have a look, and it's not something that I love, and it's taking up a lot of time, but it's not actually bringing in what it needs to in the business. So I think it has given people a chance to review and analyze, and hopefully, work on their business a little bit and really see what things that they could do differently, could do better. I think what brands work well for them in store, what are the ones that support them the most, what are the things that they can change in their business to, be better, to improve, to evolve. How can they use the time that we've had and really, take stock of where they're at?
Yeah, look, I love that answer. I'm sorry. I think we must be soul sisters from somewhere else. I don't know, sisters from another mister. And I absolutely love the fact that, you talk about, does it bring you joy? That I know, what's that name of that lady? I can't think of the lady's name who does the cleaning.
Marie Kondo, yeah.
Marie Kondo, does it bring you joy? If not, throw it out. And I just think that, I know even in my business, I've sat back and, I haven't had too much of a fall, which is just beautiful for me. But I have had that time to sit back and go, okay, I'm going to change that. That doesn't bring me joy anymore. I don't want to do that side of my business, because sometimes, especially in service-based businesses, we can get, oh, do you do this? Oh, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Do you do this? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. And it's a little bit like I remember in my retail days, oh, can you get this product in? Yeah, I guess we can.
Yes.
But, did it bring me profit in the end? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I heard someone say in terms of the retailers that, they really miss that customer interaction and seeing people face to face and day to day. And so for them, they're like, actually, I love this part of my business. This is what I want to do more of, not say the bookwork or the admin. So outsource that to someone else who, if it's not something that you can do easily, or if it takes you too much time and you don't love it, then it's not worth your money. It's worth paying someone else to do that job, because then you'll be able to work on your business and bring in income in different ways as well. So yeah, really taking stock of what you love, what you are good at, and not focusing too much on your weaknesses and trying to, waste time getting better at them, when other people can probably do them much quicker and better and cheaper than you can. So.
Yeah. Can I caveat that by saying that no small business owner who's listening to this is allowed to give up on their marketing, whether it brings them joy or not?
No, totally. I think that is one of the things. I think at the first, when this first happened, is I did say to people, keep selling, keep marketing, keep doing things, because you need to keep sharing that you're out there. You need to keep letting people know that you're out there. That is crucial thing to keep doing. And that is the last thing you should stop spending on, is marketing. 100%.
See, I knew there was a reason why I loved you. So Mel, with all the time, effort and energy you spend in retail, what's your big prediction for retail going forward, like 2020 and beyond? Do you have any big predictions for us as to what retail, do you think offline will die? Do you think online will surge?
I think that online will continue to grow. Like, I think it definitely had, it hadn't reached its peak anyway, but I think it'll continue to grow. And I think there's definitely people who started buying online who hadn't before, who actually maybe think that it's actually not a bad, model for them purchasing certain things. It might, it's not going to work for everything, but I also think it does. It maybe has eliminated some of the bigger guys in terms of the bigger companies who haven't survived this, or they're going to downsize. And it might, I feel, and I hope that it does help those little small independents grow, because they're the ones who can connect to people more. They're the ones who, if people aren't spending as much, they're still going to support those small businesses or their local businesses. So then they're always going to be there. So I hope that is the way that it goes, in terms of that there's more support for local, smaller, independent business, and that but I still do think that online will continue to be a growth area, and that has changed people's behavior in the way that they consume, and what they look for, and how they go about sourcing different things. And I think also it's going to change the sort of model of what type of things people buy. So even just chatting to different people, you hear them say, oh well, I love being at home, and I've done this at my home, and I've spent more on my home because of this. And so I think the way people have spent money might change slightly as well, in terms of what types of things that they buy. I think that's definitely something that people will shop a bit differently. And
so if anyone's listening to this podcast and they are a retail shop and they aren't online yet, do you have any words of encouragement that can perhaps get them to start thinking about this as something they should be looking at inside their business?
I think trying to see it as I think the people who aren't online yet are scared about it. Yep. So seeing it as being a really positive thing, and it's a positive way to share what they already do well, in terms of a lot of these people already have huge amounts of stock. So they're already doing the buying. They've already got those things in place, to supply chains, to suppliers, sharing that more with what you love about those different things. So don't be scared of the big to-do task of, getting all your products done and sourced and the tech side of things, but get people to help you with that side of things if it's not your forte, because people who can do it quickly and easily, because that is their forte. But don't be afraid that it's a too big a task, essentially. I think it's something that once, if you break it down into chunks, and start slowly and get yourself an online presence, get your products out there and start small, then I think it's definitely a worthwhile exercise to be online.
Yeah, I think a few quick wins would change their mind if they put, their top 10 sellers on there and
Yes.
saw, got a few quick wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and it's another way to connect to people too, in terms of the way you send out your parcels. Like that's another
Oh,
whole
yes. Oh,
conversation.
that
But
is another podcast to talk about that. Absolutely.
but you can write handwritten notes and you can connect with customers and all sorts of things.
Yeah. Send them chocolate.
Yes, exactly. And bring the joy to the people they're sending gifts to and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yes.
no, beautiful, beautiful. Mel, this has been great. I've really loved chatting retail with another awesome retail person. But I also think it's really good because I do know I have some retailers that listen. And sometimes when I was a retailer, I found it hard to always hear things from a service point of view because it is slightly different. Like we're all a marketing business at the end of the day, but
Yes.
it is slightly different to try and put what you learn into a retail perspective. So I really appreciate
Mm.
your time to come on and speak to us about retail.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Mel, how can someone get in contact with you if that they think that you are just the person they've been looking for?
Well, I have, my Instagram is at the lot code. Actually, I'm just, yes, sorry, it's just at the lot code. And my website is thelotcode.com.au. So you can find me there. And I've got lots of new things happening, lots of new products and events and courses and all stuff going on. So stay tuned and sign up to my mailing list. Actually, that's a good thing to do to find out what's
Yes.
going on.
Yeah, that's
Actually
right. Be the
call mine the
first to
fun
know.
list. So yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks again so much, Mel. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Bye.
I hope you really enjoyed that chat with Mel. It was so good to chat retail to another passionate retailer. I know I have quite a few retail listeners, so I really hope you enjoyed that just a wee bit more as well. All the links to contact Mel are in the show notes, which are at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/77. But really, you could just go on any social media platform and search The Lot Co and you'll find Mel there. That is, of course, all for episode 77. I will be back next Thursday for another great episode to help you simplify your business in 2020. If you're enjoying this podcast, which you've listened this far, so I'm really hoping you did enjoy the podcast, I would be forever grateful if you would subscribe to the podcast and maybe even share with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind and would really appreciate you making their business life a little bit simpler by hearing this podcast. If you leave a rating and review on the podcast, if you've got 2 extra minutes in your life, I would be eternally grateful. It would warm my heart. Of course, I will see you next Thursday for episode 78. But of course, in the meantime, let's hang out. Let's be social on social. You can find me at Instagram at Small Business Made Simple. On Facebook, come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group. Or, of course, you can find me on my favourite platform, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
Tell her like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you